You want to like them, but you can't.
Are you listening?
What?
Are you listening?
Did you bring me on this show to insult me?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all don't want it with us, man. We straight gangsters over here.
Straight
man.
gangsters.
Yeah.
Here comes a 1-2 pitch. Red Sox win the World Series. 5-1 the final tonight. And the best team in baseball wins it all in 2018.
Yeah, that's right. It is Monday, October 29th, and you are listening to Scout Team Sports. We are excited to be on the airwaves this morning because we had another beautiful weekend in sports, and last night was the cherry on the top as the Dodgers fall to the Boston Red Sox. I am one of your gracious hosts. They call me Loudbeard, and the man on the other line, are you there, Chris America? How are you this morning?
Yeah, it's Chris America coming to you live via telephone. Once again, I had to hook up with 1-800-CALLATT. God, who's that comedian? Why do I always blank on names at 6 o'clock in the morning, Loudbeard?
Is
the
it
redhead,
Roseanne Barr?
No, Carrot Top got me connected, gave me some workout tips, told me to take steroids, and use prop jokes.
Gallagher does a good job with prop jokes. You don't want to use Gallagher? Because I feel like Gallagher did it better and before Carrot Top. No?
I mean, didn't he just smash watermelons? That's all I remember of Gallagher.
Yeah,
And
that's all he did.
Act.
I don't even know if he talked. All I know is he just took
no
a
idea.
sledgehammer and smashed watermelons. It was great.
I just know people showed up in ponchos. Like, who goes to a comedy show in a poncho?
Gallagher fans?
Yeah. Weird times, man. Weird times.
It is weird times. It was the best of times. It was the weirdest of times. It was weird times. And
It was the beardiest of times.
It was the beardiest, and it was the World Serious of times. So last night, we get what we all thought was coming. You and I had been talking about this. It looked like the Red Sox were on a collision course for a World Series championship. And last night, we got it. We got what we thought we were going to get. I feel bad for the Dodgers, but I just want to say that the Red Sox, with the season that they had, with how well they had played, beating the Astros, who probably were the second best team in the league, beating the Yankees, and then now having to go through the Dodgers, this was a well-deserved win for the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's so funny how sports works and you get your experts. And I remember when the Yankees made the Giancarlo Stanton trade. When I say they made the trade, they basically went to Jeter and they're like, "Hey, Jeter, now that you're the owner of the Marlins, or part owner, or whatever your deal is, why don't you just throw us a bone, like, for old time's sake?" And he's like, "Sure, buddies, you love me and I love you, so here's a superstar player for free." And so Yankees bandwagon talked about how the Yankees were going to win, and the Boston Red Sox just quietly sat there with that evil grin on their face because they knew what kind of team they had. They knew they had the complete team. They knew they had the team you needed to win the World Series. And this was one of those teams that just led from start to finish.
Yeah, and last night, starting pitcher David Price for the Boston Red Sox, we do feel like he had exercised his demons earlier in the series, and he'd come out and looking good. But last night was one of the best performances I have seen from David Price. For a guy that has been so good for so many years, it's nice to see him finally get that, I guess it's that, marquee game that he can look back and say, we won the World Series on my back. I was able to carry this team. He had 7 innings, only 1 earned run, and he looked just unstoppable. And on the other side, he's going up against Clayton Kershaw, and we all know that what Kershaw is. Kershaw is an amazing pitcher, but the Red Sox, man, they were just going through him like crazy. Those bats on the Boston Red Sox just they never cooled off. I think every game they're putting up runs. There was not a game where you thought, okay, Boston isn't going to have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 runs. And the surprising star last night, the guy that maybe not a lot of people had heard of going into this series, and the guy that has now been thrust into the spotlight, and that is Steve Pearce. This is a journeyman who has been on half a dozen teams in the MLB. He's 35 years old, and he's never really quite found like that spot where he just felt like he was at home. But in this series, especially games 4 and 5, he showed up where it was in the biggest of spotlights, and in the most important role that he had was coming in, and he gets 3 home runs in games 4 and 5, including 2 last night to help clinch the series. And he had that big double to drive in runs and give them a big lead in game 4. So Steve Pearce gets named MVP of the World Series. And you know what? I love it. Every year there's a guy that just comes out of the woodwork. You and I were talking about JBJ, Jackie Bradley Jr. Well, he was the main man earlier in the when they were playing the Astros. He was the main man. But Steve Pearce stepped up in this way. It was just awesome to see a different guy, not a big name, not JD Martinez, not Mookie Betts, not the guys that have brought them here. It was another guy, kind of a role player for the Boston Red Sox, man. Great to see that. What do you think about the role player being the MVP? What are your thoughts, Chris America?
I think that's what you see a lot in baseball. Is it's never going to be really your all-star, the guy who's led you all season. It's never really going to be that. It's always that guy who just kind of shows up and wins the MVP. We see that a lot in other sports. Nobody saw Kawhi Leonard coming out and winning the MVP. And then you had, who is the first Warriors? I'm trying to think of his name right now. The first Warrior to win the MVP the first year. He came from Philadelphia.
Andre Iguodala.
There you go. Andre Iguodala. Like I said, I'm bad with names at 6 o'clock in the morning. When the Saints won the Super Bowl, it was a cornerback, I believe, that won it, not Drew Brees or
was it Terry Porter?
What's that?
Was it Terry Porter or Tracy Porter that year?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Roman Harper, maybe. Can't remember.
Yeah, either way, you see it a lot in sports. It's never really your superstar. Sometimes it is. I mean, last year for the Super Bowl, it was Nick Foles, which is your starting quarterback. But at the beginning of the season, nobody predicted Nick Foles would get a Super Bowl MVP. So it was good to see.
Yeah, I just like it when kind of the other guys end up getting into the spotlight. You know, he's just a different kind of guy, and it was great to see. And like I had mentioned, I thought David Price had an amazing series, and I want to give him the credit where it's due. But last night, the closer, the guy that they bring out to finish it off, the guy that throws the last pitch and gets the last strikeout is Chris Sale. And Chris Sale has been the ace for the Boston Red Sox all year long. So you started out with David Price and you finish it with Chris Sale. I don't think that there could have been a better storyline for the Boston Red Sox. Now, I think they wish they would have won it at home just because, fans like to celebrate a little bit better at home. I always feel like that's kind of a little bit of that double-edged sword. Yes, you're excited you won the World Series, but you're not at home. It's all Dodgers fans. I mean, there's going to be a lot of Boston Red Sox fans there too, but I think winning the championship at home is probably the most exciting part of sports. So when you win it away, I guess the best part is when you fly back and the airplane lands and then all the fans are there to give you the big warm welcome, and then you have the parade and you have all of the glitz and glamour. So they're going to get plenty of recognition. So maybe I'm overemphasizing the winning at home thing. But
no, we talked about that before. We love seeing the home crowd cheer on the winning team, to have that sort of vibe, that atmosphere that you get. And Loudbeard, we got to blame the Dodgers for doing that. We said the Dodgers needed to win at least one game in Boston in order to have a shot at the series. They didn't get it done, and they didn't have a single shot. The other thing that impressed me about the Red Sox run through the playoffs is they knew how to hit home runs that were knockout blows. They had so many 3-run and grand slam home runs in this series where games were close, and then they have 2 guys on base and they crank it over the wall. They have bases loaded, they crank it over the wall, and they just, once the team sees that, especially when it's in the later innings and you see a team just crush you in 1 inning off of a home run, it's very deflating. It's like a punch in the gut, and it's really hard mentally, I think, for athletes to overcome those types of blows. Not that they can't, but more times than not, they see the ball go over the wall. They look at the scoreboard. They're like, we were just within 1 point. We were just within 1 or 2 runs, and now we're down 4 or 5 points. How did that, in a blink of the eye, we're down 5. And in baseball, being down 5 is like being down 3 touchdowns. You know, you can overcome it, but it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of grind on your part in order to get that done. And it's hard mentally. And that's one of the biggest differences between the Red Sox and everybody else this playoff series is just getting those big home runs, those RBI home runs that you needed them when you needed them.
Oh, absolutely, man. And this is a unique team here, the Boston Red Sox. I was listening to the telecast last night as I was watching the game, and they were talking about how 5 years ago when Boston won, there is only 1 player left on that team from 5 years ago. They have completely turned over the roster, and this team has become, I guess, almost probably one of the best Red Sox teams in the history of the Red Sox. The Red Sox have a very storied franchise. A lot of great teams have come through, but this isn't your big poppy Red Sox. This is a completely different team, and they have been. Their bats have been so clutch, so crucial, getting those home runs right when they needed them. And, you know, they never seemed like they would relent. They would just keep their foot on the pedal 100 miles an hour every game and just go for it. And honestly, the Dodgers, their only win was in an 18-inning just slugfest where they just wore out the Red Sox. If you look back, this could have easily been a sweep. The Red Sox were head and shoulders better, and they knew how to kind of deflate the Dodgers at every turn. And like you said, they would hit the most clutch home runs, and they would just keep at it and just wear down the Dodgers each and every game. It never seemed like there was a point where we said, oh, this looks like the turning point. This looks like the Dodgers are going to have a shot. It was all Red Sox all the time.
Yeah, I think when Game 3 was a 7+ hour, 18-inning, ended at 3 o'clock in the morning win for the Dodgers, that's when I kind of got the feeling like, yeah, it's 2-1, but it took 18 innings for the Dodgers to beat the Red Sox. That's how they got their win. And I want to talk about that, Loudbeard. Baseball needs to change their extra innings. I know the baseball purists aren't going to want to hear this, but nobody wants to be up until 3 o'clock in the morning in the Eastern time zone watching a baseball game. Luckily, it was on Friday night. Could you imagine if that was on a Wednesday night or a Thursday night? Oh, I can't imagine how much the ratings would have dropped if that was the case. And I'm sure the ratings did drop because even though it's a Friday night, most people don't want to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, those days have passed me a long time ago, Loudbeard. What about you?
Yeah, no, I struggle, especially when it's been a long work week. I get home Friday nights, and I'm usually pretty exhausted. I try to catch as much as I can while I can. But, yeah, I'm hard-pressed to stay past midnight, let alone 3 a.m. So, yeah, that in itself is grueling. And I agree with you. I mean, no, we don't want to tie, right? Like, we hate ties. But I guess realistically, if they had something where there was a tie, especially in regular season, would it really matter that much?
No. I mean, it might later on down the road in the wild card racings and the divisional racings, but I mean, I have the solution. And by the way, that old man segment was brought to you by AARP. Complain about what time baseball ends with AARP. So that way we got that plugged in. I think what you do is you kind of do what hockey does. Hockey started having all these ties, so they went 3-on-3, right? In overtime. And it's opened up scoring. It's allowed it to happen. My suggestion is when a batting team gets a runner on base, the defending team has to take a player off the field. You can pick whichever player you want, but they have to come off the field until that runner scores, and then you put that player back on the field. I think we need to promote a little bit more hitting. We need to promote a little bit more scoring in extra innings. And again, I know baseball purists don't want that, but I think after you introduce that and we see it and it looks a little bit of exciting to watch teams string together a few runs, and it allows your closing pitchers to have to, really be on top of their game in order to get the 3 outs and not allow any more runs. There's no way you're going to have a 7-hour game under that setup. I know it's extreme, but so is 7-hour games ending at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah, no, I've heard you with this philosophy before, this strategy to help improve baseball. Now, Major League Baseball needs to open up their ears and shut their mouth and listen to Chris America. They need to understand that there are good solutions out there. Yes, it may sound a little extreme. It may sound a little different, but maybe that's what we need. We don't need the same old stupid ideas coming from the same old talking heads and the same people that have the bad decisions that already know what they want the outcome to be. We need fresh voices. We need young, inspirational ideas, and I think that's what you're bringing, Chris America. So I like your idea. I'm voting it yes. It's election season, and Chris America for fixing Major League Baseball. I'm all in.
I mean, I know baseball did something in minor leagues where they started testing out a guy starting out on second. To me, that's kind of lame because you're basically giving them a score. I'd rather at least have the batters earn it, like earn their way onto base and then earn their way to getting a guy taken off of the defense. And maybe you do that for just the first 3 hitters and then you put all the defenders back in. I don't know, but something needs to change. We don't get these every single game, but we get them at least twice, 2 to 3 times a year.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's not a huge amount of games that we run into this. Now, you said you don't like that adding the runner onto second base because it gives them an advantage. Do you not like the college football overtime rules? Because I feel like they basically give them points by where they're setting them out on the field. Is that?
Oh yeah, I wish I'd move it back to the 40.
Yeah,
35 or 40 out of field goal range for most kickers.
Yeah, I don't like how they just give them. It's basically giving them points to start it. They need to earn it a little bit more. Okay, that's a different subject. We can argue the college football overtime rules another day. I'm sorry I brought it up. All right, so I'm going to move on from the World Series because there's a lot of other things that happened this weekend. We've got crazy basketball news. We've got NFL. We've got college football. There was a cocktail party I don't even know if you want to talk about, but there was a lot going on. But I'm going to start with some of the news that happened Friday because we'll go through NBA pretty quickly here. But Ty Lue, it's announced he is fired from the Cleveland Cavaliers after an 0-6 start. He's obviously the worst coach in the history of 0-6 starts because, he won a championship. He brought his team. They were winning conference finals, but he's starting 0-6 after losing the best player in the planet is definitely the coach's fault. He should have been fired, right, Chris America?
Oh, yeah. I mean, any coach that is worth their merit could come in after all the superstars have been taken out, and you're left with kind of an older, not quite as good, can't lead a team by himself, Kevin Love. But if you were worth your weight in gold in coaching, then you truly would be a winner. No, God, this is why I can't stand the NBA. It's just, I know people don't like to hear this, but coaching doesn't matter in the NBA anymore. To a point, it does. But if you handed Steve Kerr the New York Knicks roster, he's not winning a title. He's probably not even making the playoffs. So you can sit there and tell me that Steve Kerr is a great coach, and I'm sure he is. I'm sure he knows way more about basketball than I will ever even attempt to, he's forgotten more about basketball than I can ever attempt to learn. But it doesn't mean that he's the reason why he's a good coach. If you took Steve Kerr off the Warriors and you put Ty Lue on, Ty Lue's winning a championship more likely than not at the end of the season. So I don't know. I think it's kind of ridiculous and unfair. Maybe management didn't like Ty Lue to begin with. The only reason why he was there is because LeBron James made them hire him. And so they're kind of like, well, now LeBron's gone. And then it took them 6 games. And they're like, okay, well, now we have our excuse to fire Ty Lue. So let's get rid of this guy that we never wanted in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mess anyway. Cleveland is going to be an absolute dumpster fire this entire year. I saw a report that Kevin Love is having foot soreness. They're thinking about keeping him out for an extended period of time just so the soreness can heal. Yeah, you know what that tells me is, hey, we're all in on the first lottery pick. We want to go number 1 draft pick this year. They don't want Kevin Love to even play. They're going to hold him out with erroneous injuries, and they're going to fire their coach. And the Cavs players, yeah, this is a bad team. I mean, J.R. Smith, he has really just jumped the shark as far as, I mean, he's become crazy, and he's not that good. I don't even know what else I can say. I mean, Larry Nance Jr., they have a roster of just okay guys, role players. Cavs, to me, are in the number 1 spot for being the worst team in the NBA, and firing Ty Lue is just part of that gig. LeBron James is the only thing that has happened good to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, I guess you could say Kyrie too, but he ended up leaving. But between Kyrie and LeBron, everything else in Cleveland has been a total just disaster over the years. So we're going back to Cleveland being Cleveland, and that's all there is to it, man. And one other little NBA nugget I just want to throw out at you. I feel like I've kind of missed the boat on something. I've talked about it all year long. I've said about, in the East, we know that the East isn't that good, but I like Toronto. And when I talk about other teams in the East, I talk about Philly, I talk about Boston. There is a team out in Milwaukee, and this is our crew, the Bucks. I have not given them the credit they deserve. I think Giannis is coming out MVP style, and this team looks like they could be one of the big-time teams in the East. And I just want to say that the Greek Freak, even though he got knocked out the other day by the Orlando Magic's Aaron Gordon, inadvertently, wink, wink, just because he got knocked out doesn't mean he could be the best player in the NBA this year. I'm telling you, we're ready to see some fireworks. I don't know, Chris America. I did not give the Milwaukee Bucks a fighting shot, and they are proving me wrong this year.
I mean, they took Boston toe-to-toe with them. They fought. A lot of people thought they've won that. Didn't have that firepower. They were a younger team also. Giannis is an up-and-coming rising star, and he doesn't have the playoff experience yet, but he got it last season. And I think Milwaukee is, especially in this Eastern Conference, they could be the team that nobody saw coming at the beginning of the year, and they take out Boston, they take out Toronto, they take out your beloved Pistons that you've been high on as well, and could even take out that 76er squad that's very up and down and very inconsistent team the 76ers are so far this season.
Yeah, 76ers are just too young. You're right. The inconsistency, I think they're going to prove to be a little bit not ready for the big spotlight yet. I don't think this is their year. But like I said, man, Milwaukee, the Pistons, the East is actually proving to me to be better than advertised. And I'm excited about that because last year it was like all West and LeBron James. And then once LeBron left, it was like, oh my gosh, the East is going to be just total trash. But there are some young up-and-coming stars that are making the East look good. And I'm excited about this. I'm excited about the NBA, but it is a college football weekend, and it was a pro football weekend, and I am NBA'd out. I gave it all I had with the NBA. It is time to move on, Chris America. We have a long way to go on our show, but we got a ton of talk around these. Do you want to go college football first or NBA? What is your drink of choice?
College football or NFL, you mean?
I said NBA. Yeah, NFL. That's what I meant.
Yeah, so let's go NFL because we always go college first, and then we never have time for NFL. Let's get NFL in there real quick. A few teams looked really impressive yesterday. Blowouts that I did not see coming were my Carolina Panthers blowing out the Baltimore Ravens, and then Minnesota at home just getting trashed by the Saints last night. Didn't see that coming at all. Drew Brees is just Drew Brees. Eli Apple proving to be a good commodity. Got a couple of penalties, but all in all, they held the Vikings offense in check.
Yeah, I would say that what I learned from that game is, one, the Vikings are still a good team. I'm not putting anything, I guess, on the Vikings on this loss. I'm really putting this on the Saints. I'm telling you right now, the Saints, this is a scary team. Their loss was earlier in the year against Fitzmagic. That'll be a segue to something else here in a few minutes. But this was a team that has now just dominated almost every game they've been in. Their offense just looks unstoppable. They get Mark Ingram back. Their defense has kind of shored up needs that they had, bringing in a guy like Eli Apple. The Saints are going to be a scary team when it comes playoff time. With the Rams remain undefeated, so in the NFC, you are looking at the Rams and Saints, to me, being the top two teams that everybody else should be emulating. And, you know, we thought at the beginning of the year that the Vikings and the Packers, no, the NFC looks like the Rams and the Saints are owning it. And you got other teams out there like your Carolina Panthers and like my Washington Redskins, which have looked good this year. But we can't hold a candle to these two teams, can we, Chris America? Do you think the Saints are there? If you were doing a power ranking of the NFC, would you agree that the top two are the Rams and the Saints?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially from what we've seen. The Rams, they're undefeated still. And they had an amazing comeback win yesterday against the Aaron Rodgers train and the Packers train. We'll go into that. The Vikings, we thought they would be a top team, and we thought they had a great defense. But this defense, I feel like, has really let them down. I mean, I think they have 1, 2, 3 games that they let their opponents score less than 24 points. 4 games. The Eagles scored 21. But those other teams that they held under 24 were the Jets, the Cardinals, and the 49ers. Everybody else has scored 24 or more, including the Buffalo Bills. So I don't know. I don't watch, quarter to quarter, minute to minute Vikings football to know what exactly is going on there. I don't know if there's a lot of turnovers, if there's a lot of 3 and outs, what the problem is, but this defense has just not been that Vikings defense that we thought we saw last year. Maybe last year was sort of a fluke because the Eagles offense opened up on them and put up a lot of points. And maybe the Eagles gave the blueprint on how to score points against this Vikings defense. But so far, they've been sort of the letdown this year, I think.
Yeah, they have been a little bit of a letdown. And maybe this is the Kirk Cousins effect, Kirk Cousins, he comes in.
Stop.
He's been, just not winning enough games. He's been taking the Redskins to the edge of the playoffs and just not getting in the last couple years. So now he's doing that to the Vikings. Just saying, I don't have any bias whatsoever with Kirk Cousins. None. Zero. Zilch.
None at all.
All right, so that leads...
he had a great game last night.
Yeah?
He threw for 359 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 75% completion. His last 2 games against the Cardinals and Jets were a lot less, with 241 and 233 yards. So we've gone into this league now where if you don't put up 4 touchdowns and have 300 yards and your team doesn't score 35 points, we're like, oh, well, it's the quarterback's fault. He's just not that good. They lost, so it must be the quarterback's fault. But, I mean, he's having a spectacular season, 2,500 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. I don't know what else you want from a quarterback through 8 games.
Yeah, no, it's really not Kirk Cousins' fault. You're right. It really needs to go on to that defense, and I think the running game a little bit too. Latavius Murray has shown that he can hang. He's a UCF legend, so that obviously he's a great player. But they are missing a little bit extra punch in their running game, and I think having Dalvin Cook out hurt for so long, and when he did come back, he didn't look like he was quite right. They're missing a healthy Dalvin Cook. I think that would be the key for that offense to really open up. And then, like you said, the defense they've got to be able to step up. They have to be able to be a little bit closer to what they were last year. Yeah, maybe they can't mimic it 100%, but they have to give us a little bit more than what they're giving us. The Vikings aren't going to be able to make the playoffs with all of the competition in the NFC if they continue down this road. And, yeah, I mean, you go up against the Saints team, which is like a buzzsaw. You can't get past them. I'm not going to say, okay, it's end of the road for the Vikings, but they need to step up in the second half of the season and show that they're in it for real, and part of that will be their defense. And Mike Zimmer's a defensive guy, so I can imagine that he is working hard to get that defense up. And I think that's what will happen there. Now, I'm going to go talking defense to another subject that I'm really passionate about, Chris America, and that is some Fitz magic. You want to tell me what your thoughts, man? Before I go off on my rant, I want to hear what are your thoughts about bringing in some Fitz magic here in Tampa Bay.
Well, I thought it was a little too late. I think this is the game plan that Tampa Bay Buccaneers need to have. With football, we always say, oh, you can't just bring in a backup quarterback. The two-quarterback system doesn't work and everything else. And we talked about the World Series in baseball. Baseball, we have a star pitcher, and nobody gets their feelings hurt when you say, okay, you've done enough. You've gotten us this far. Now we're going to take you out and put somebody else in to kind of finish off the game. And I don't see a problem with that in football if these football players can stop being crybabies, swallow their egos a little bit, and just allow it to happen, especially when you're not that takeover four-quarter type quarterback like Jameis Winston isn't. Jameis Winston isn't that guy. He's not proving to be that guy. And he was ready to lead them to another loss. And I don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick is that guy either. I don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to lead you game in and game out. So when you have two guys that can't go the full distance every single game, why not just sit them down and be like, look, we're just going to kind of flip-flop you guys. If one of you starts having a bad game, don't feel bad. We're going to yank you. We're going to put the other guy in, see if we can get a spark. He's going to be the relief pitcher for today. Next week, he'll be the starting pitcher, and you'll be the relief pitcher, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
It sounds crazy, Loudbeard, but it seems to be the only thing that's going to work for this Buccaneers team if they want to make the playoffs.
No, man, you're right. I like the two-quarterback idea. I didn't even think about that. I was going to go in a different direction. But Loudbeard will do his rant on Ryan Fitzmagic after we do a quick commercial break. It is going to be epic, so make sure you stay tuned. It is one of the greatest rants of all time. Okay, I overhyped that. It really isn't. I do like Fitzmagic, though, so stay tuned.
When I'm working hard, I build up a thirst for sports. That's when I grab a cold 12-ounce sports radio. "12-ounce sports radio. Quench your sports thirst."
Oh, guess who it is? Did you know the station had a janitor? Oh yeah, the Hefe, otherwise known as Beck. And it's Beck's Work Week in Review live on 12-Ounce Sports Radio every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Catch interviews, special guests, and the recap of the week's news and headlines and box scores and results. It's Beck's Work Week in Review live on 12-Ounce Sports Radio.
Scout Team listeners and friends of the show, I've got something special for you. It looks like 12-Ounce Sports Radio has done it again. We have partnered with Rally House. You just go to the website 12ozsportsradio.com. Click on the banner on the right side of the page, and it will take you directly to Rally House. Rally House has some of the greatest, most unique sports items for that diehard fan, casual fan, and anybody and everybody out there that is special in your life. So go ahead and check it out. Once again, go to that website, 12ozsportsradio.com. Click on the banner to the right of the page, and you will get taken to the best sports merchandise website on all of the interweb. Do you own a small business? Are you looking for solutions to all of your communications, problems, and challenges that you have? Check out Ring Central. Give them a call. They have partnered with 12ouncesportsradio.com to give you the best rates on all of your business and office solutions for communication. Give them a call today. We have a dedicated line for all of the 12-ounce sports radio listeners. It is 1-877-779-3860. You will get a representative on the phone who will help you with all of your small business communications needs. Once again, give them a call today, 1 877-779-3860.
Yeah, welcome back to this beautiful Monday morning. It is October 29th, and you are listening to the Scout Team. He's Chris America. I'm Loudbeard, and we are bringing it to you. Oh, no way, Golden Ghost. What's up, friend? How are you doing today?
Were you really going to, not introduce me? I'm just asking. It's kind of wrong.
I was going to not introduce you. We have a little bit of a situation, Golden Ghost. I don't know if you've heard this or not, but...
What's the situation?
Chris America is having technical difficulties on his end, so he's actually on the phone right now, and so I don't think you're going to be able to hear him talk.
Nobody cares about Chris America anyway, so,
No, that's a good point.
Shut
Chris
him
America,
down.
Are you there?
I think I can do something. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Hold
Let
on.
me try
I can
something
hear.
out. I think I have an idea.
Uh-oh.
You guys
I can hear
talk
him.
a little bit. I'll let you know when I'm back.
All right. Well, Golden Ghost is excited to have you on the airwaves. I haven't talked to you since last Wednesday when we did our Scout Team After Dark, and we had the best moosiest episode I have ever had in my life. And did you have a good time last Wednesday?
It was meese.
When there's multiple moose, is it a meese?
It's a meese. It has to be a meese.
I think it should be a meese.
Uh-huh. A flock of meese.
A flock of meese.
Definitely a meese.
Oh man! All right. So what we got? What we got on the agenda this Monday morning?
Well, you missed it. We talked a lot about baseball in the first half.
Okay.
All right. But you're good now because we're talking football, and I know you're a big football guy. So before we went to the commercial break, I was just discussing of how amazing Ryan Fitzmagic is, and
Dude,
my week. Yes.
Come on. Really?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
You're on the Ryan Fitzpatrick train.
I am. You know, when I was watching this Tampa Bay game over the weekend, and they decided, okay, Jameis Winston, with all of his greatness over at Florida State, he can't bring it into the NFL. We're going to have to bench him and bring in Ryan Fitzmagic. The crowd got electric. Everything just changed. It was like they flipped the switch and they turned it on, and all of a sudden the magic was back. And Ryan Fitzmagic, he storms down the field for a great field goal on the first drive. Then he comes down and he storms down the field for a touchdown. He brings them all the way back from a huge deficit, and they go and they tie the game, and then the defense is soft and lets the other team win. But that's okay because the magic is back. And I can feel it running through my veins, Golden Ghost. The magic.
Let me
is
ask
back.
you this. They benched him in what, week 3? Week 4?
Week 4 or week 5. I can't remember which one, but yeah, that was. We don't.
Why
want to
did they
talk
bench
about
him
that, do
again? Why did they bench him again?
Because he's good.
Yeah, okay. Check this out. And I'm going to put it to you the plainest way possible. Tampa's in a hard spot. You have a young guy in Jameis Winston that you want to be the face of your team. You want him to be the face of your team. But he has some pitfalls. And then you have Fitzpatrick, who has flashes of magic, but we know what he's about. We know what he's going to do, period. We know it. It's going to happen. The crash is going to happen. Whether it be next week, whether it be 3 weeks from now, whether it be in a wild card playoff game, it's going to happen. Now, this is why everybody should listen to Scout Team Radio and what we talk about every week, because then we discuss sitting Jameis the whole season, sit behind Fitzpatrick to learn the game. Do we discuss this weeks ago? No one's listening. No one's listening to us. But that's what should have happened. He should have sat a couple of more games, probably, I'm serious, the whole season, just learned behind Fitzpatrick. And that season, he would have been okay. Even if he wouldn't have been in Tampa Bay, he would have been better as a quarterback, in my opinion. But that didn't happen. Fitzpatrick had a bad half. He gets benched. Jameis is the starter. No one thinks twice about it, but it always is in the back of my head that he should have never played. He should have never played. They should have stuck with Fitzpatrick. He should have seen how a struggling quarterback actually comes back in behind in the game, and his composure, he would have got better. But it didn't happen. And now here we are.
Here we are. Now,
the problem with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now, I'm going tin can mode, got off the phone, so sorry for the bad sound, but the problem with Tampa Bay right now is everybody is in their final year of contract. The starting quarterback, the backup quarterback, the head coach, everyone on that staff knows that they need to be at their best and make the playoffs, or all of them could lose their jobs. And when you have that sort of bad situation where nobody has job security at the three focal points, it's not going to be a good look for you, and you're not going to be able to win football games that way. Tampa Bay is going to have a decision now at the end of the season when they don't make the playoffs again, and they probably finish 6-10 at best. Yeah. I mean, if they go 8-8, I'll be surprised, to be honest with you, the way they've been playing. Now, they've shown, like, with this comeback, that they can sneak up on good teams like the Bengals and win. But they've also shown they can melt down and lose. They should have lost last week to the Cleveland Browns. But, you know, there's enough of those teams on their schedule. They might go 8-8, but I think 6-10 is probably their best hope. And then Tampa Bay is going to have the really hard decision. Do we move on from Jameis? Do we move on from Derek Cutter? What is our future going to be? And I honestly don't think either of those two guys are your answer.
Well, see, this is my problem. Jameis is getting the short end of the stick here because Cutter is not a good coach. He hasn't recognized anything to make that team better yet. So to me, Jameis is actually getting a short end of the stick because yes, he's probably not playing the rest of the season. Like Cutter is saying, look, this is what's going to happen. We're going to start Fitzpatrick. He's going to struggle. But whatever, we're going to ride him through. But he should have did that weeks ago and let Jameis sit back and watch. But Jameis is going to get short in the stick because he's getting benched. He's not going to play probably the rest of the season. And then he's going to get traded. And guess what? He still hasn't learned anything because right now his agent, his family, everybody's telling him, get out of Tampa. Get out of Tampa right now. That's what they're telling him.
I mean, he can get out, but he's going to have a hard
decision for him.
He's going to have a hard time finding a team that wants him. Nobody wants a turnover machine, and you can blame Derek Cutter all you want, but that's what Jameis Winston was in college football. He looked great when he's playing all these cupcake teams like Wake Forest and you know UNC and Duke. But whenever he played teams like Oregon and even against Florida's defense, when Florida's defense at the beginning of all those Florida State games...
The guy won a national championship.
That's fine. Okay. There's lots of quarterbacks who won national championships that aren't NFL quarterbacks.
He drove down the field in the fourth quarter with like 2 minutes left. 3 laps, okay?
Okay, great. He had one solid drive against a college football team, and he looked like garbage against Oregon.
Dude,
listen, all I know is when he played Florida. Listen, all I know is when he played Florida and Florida's defense at the beginning of the first half and even into the third quarter before they would get tired because their offense was trash, Jameis Winston was pedestrian. He had like 3 turnovers in one of the Florida games. All I saw was just one guy that if you pressure Jameis Winston and you make him have to make fast decisions, he's not good. And what happened? I said he's a turnover machine and he's going to be that in the NFL, and that's all he's done his entire career. He's already at 10 interceptions. He played, like 3 games of this season? He has 54 interceptions his whole entire career, and he's only been in the league for 4 seasons. Like, this is his 4th season, and he's only played 3 games, and he's already at 54 interceptions at basically 3 1/4 seasons.
I'm not going to get into history of why Jameis is a good quarterback or his football IQ, but Jameis is a good quarterback with the right coach. With the right coach, they can get him to top 10. Okay, the guy has a decent arm. He can read the field. He's a good quarterback. He just needs a better coach to go through the motions with him and teach him. You know what I'm saying? So I get what you're saying, but the guy itself is decent.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you had to build a team right now, you're a general manager, and there's 2 free agent quarterbacks available. One of them being Blake Bortles and one of them being Jameis Winston. Who do you pick?
Come on. I'm picking Jameis all day long. And I'm coaching him the right way.
I'm going Blake Bortles. I'm first of all, I don't like the choice. If those are my choices, I'm like, where did I go wrong in life? But I go with a guy that's actually done stuff in the NFL, like
with a great defense and a great running back. Get out of here. He has no defense and his running back is out. And look at him, he's struggling. Get out of here. Come on, do better, man.
It's a good point.
Do better. Do
I'm
better.
going
Chris
Bortles
America.
all the way. So 2 out of 3. I think Bortles wins.
I mean, they're both turnover machines, but look, one guy's proven that he can lead a team to the playoffs. The other guy,
one guy's proven that he can manage a team to the playoff with ugly thrown balls.
You can't manage a team to the playoffs with all those interceptions. But it's not like Bortles hasn't been chugging along with his interceptions. I mean, he's at 8 this year, but he's played twice as many games as Jameis Winston has played.
All right, we have somebody chiming in on Twitter. Memphis Spence wanted to let us know that he would pick Winston over Bortles.
Thank you,
all right,
bro.
well,
Get out of here, man. You're crazy. You're crazy.
I mean, it's honestly like asking, how do I want to die? Drinking battery acid or, brake fluid?
So you're going brake fluid.
I'm going brake fluid. You guys can go battery acid. That's fine. I mean, either way, you're not really getting much out of there.
Yeah,
but
come on. I mean, you gotta admit that Bortles has had a stellar defense. That last year had a stellar defense, had a stellar running back, and a decent offensive line. And if you take those all 3 away, which absolutely happened this season, he's below average. He's below average. Jameis has shown flashes of greatness. He has. He just needs the right coach to teach him. That's all I'm saying on that.
All right, since 2015, Bortles has had 92 turnovers and Winston has had 91 turnovers. And that was tweeted at Scout Team Radio by Ian Hall from 12 Ounce Sports Radio. Ian Hall had put it in there. He said 92 turnovers against 91. So I guess Bortles has a little bit of the advantage on the turnover, but I don't think either of those numbers are good.
No.
They're horrible
Those are bad.
numbers.
They're awful.
There's horrible numbers. But at least Bortles has a decent coach. He has a decent coach.
Yeah,
I mean, is Doug Marrone really that good of a coach?
I mean,
think he is.
He's a little more inventive than Cutter.
I mean, that's why Cutter was there. Cutter was hired, and my boy Lovie Smith was fired because Cutter is this amazing offensive genius that Winston can grow underneath. That's the whole reason why Cutter became the head coach, is because everybody said, this is the guy who can take Jameis Winston to the next level. Now you're saying he's not the guy. Let's just get rid of him. Unless you send him to...
I've never said that.
Unless you send him to Shanahan or
don't send him to
homeboy
Shanahan. Good God. Don't send him to Shanahan. What are you crazy?
I mean, he's the one leading C.J. Beathard to better heights than what Jameis Winston's doing.
No, we're not going to Shanahan.
And Memphis Spence on Twitter brings up a good example. How good did Jared Goff look with Jeff Fisher as coach? And now, with Sean McVay, Goff looks like a superstar. Coaching is important for these.
It is important, but Derek Cutter's not a defensive, slow and plodding, uninnovative offensive coach. He is an offensive coach. He was regarded as one of the top offensive coordinators 3 or 4 seasons ago when he took that job. I've
never said that.
I know you didn't say that, but the rest of the sports world, the rest of the football world said it.
We don't listen to the rest of the sports world. They're crazy.
You're crazy,
Just
man.
saying.
You're crazy. All right, hey, we only got a few minutes left, and we haven't talked any college football. You guys want to talk college football? I know that's your favorite. So do we want to talk Florida State first, or should we leave them off the agenda?
We don't want to talk about Florida teams at all this week.
I think we should talk about.
Big win.
I think we should talk about Florida State for 59 seconds.
All right,
we
59
suck.
seconds. How
look,
does that signify anything important?
Listen, my team gave up. Okay, what about the Florida Gators?
I mean, my Florida Gators went toe-to-toe with the top 10 team, held them out of the end zone. They had 7 plays on the 1-yard line. It was a 4-minute drive for -1 yard. We were right there. We just had too many turnovers, too many bad mistakes. And this is a new team that's trying hard, playing hard for their brand new coach who put in a brand new offense and they're not looking for any excuses like UCLA fan base is looking for right now, like the Nebraska Cornhuskers fan base is looking for right now, and like the Florida State fan base has been giving me the entire
excuses. I'm not making any excuses. I'm sticking behind Taggart. We're going to be fine. It's a rough season. We have them. It happens. It's college football. It's a cycle. You're on top, and then all of a sudden, you're sucking wind. You know, it's fine. We'll be okay. Taggart will be okay. Next year, we'll be bigger and better. I still think we beat Florida this year. I'm just saying.
Now, for Memphis Spence listening and everybody else, we asked about Bortles Winston. Who would you want your NFL team or your college team to hire? Derek Cutter or Willie Taggart?
Well, why you got to pick Willie Taggart and Eric Cutter? What's wrong with you, man?
Terrible comparison. One's an NFL.
Dude, what is wrong with you?
No. I'm saying if you had a choice, if both your NFL team and your college team were looking for a new coach, would you rather your NFL team hire Derek Cutter and then your college team goes in another direction, or would you rather your college team hire Willie Taggart and your NFL team goes in a different direction? Personally, I'd rather take my chances with Derek Cutter on the Carolina Panthers than I would want Willie Taggart to have anything to do with the Florida Gators.
We'll see after he beats you in November.
Okay.
It's coming.
Bring in that offense that you guys had against Clemson. I'll be waiting for it.
Yeah, what's wrong with that offense, by the way? I just want to say that I give myself an idiot sandwich for I said I think Florida State may have a chance to upset Clemson.
You're just bad luck.
Wow.
That's all that is. You're just bad luck. Like when you said it, I was like, come on, don't do that, man. You're the kiss of death, brother. Don't
if you
root
watch
for
that
Florida
game,
State.
I had nothing to do with bad luck. I had nothing to do with that. That was everything on the field.
It was you, man. It was always you. God.
All right. Hey, so Syracuse jumps up into the AP Top 25 for the first time in 17 years. Man, maybe they're legit. They're the team in the ACC to help carry the whole division, whole conference. You've got Syracuse and Clemson that are the top two teams in the ACC. Everybody else, awful.
Yeah.
The
there's no denying. There's no denying it is what it is, man. Florida State's down. Miami's down. Virginia Tech gets exposed. Look, dude, it's going to be a rough year for the ACC.
ACC fan bases are all waiting for college basketball to start in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, they are. They have nothing else to look forward to.
They cannot wait for November to get here.
Yeah, it's going to be rough for the ACC if teams even make it to the. I mean, they'll make it to the bowl because they're 175 bowl games or something stupid like that. So we'll make it to a bowl game, I guess. But no, Florida State won't make it to a bowl game, and I'm absolutely happy that we won't make it to a bowl game.
Oh, you're ready for that streak to come to an end?
Yeah, I'm kind of like, hey, look, dude, it's not deserving. We don't deserve it. Period. We just.
You guys need 2 more wins to get there.
It's gonna be.
You already
rough,
guaranteed that you'll beat the Florida Gators, so that would put you at 5 wins.
Yeah.
And then let's see the rest of your schedule. Yeah, you're not making a bowl game. I mean, it's NC State, Notre Dame, Boston College, and then you have to beat Florida. I know you already think that's a win.
NC State's that tough, but
I mean, they were undefeated until they ran into that Clemson buzzsaw, and they didn't allow Clemson to score 59 points. So,
you're gonna throw this in there, man.
Throwing
I'm glad
daggers,
Georgia beat
man.
you guys. It's all good. He hates. He hates. I get it. I hate Florida too. So I'm glad Jake Fromm showed you guys up. So we're all right.
So Texas was overrated, huh? You guys think going in?
That's just because everybody's losing that these teams are moving up there. Syracuse, Texas. I mean,
cream rises to the top, man.
Cream rises to the top.
When other teams are bad, the bad teams rise up. That's all there is to it. And
for one season. For one season, I'll give you that.
Yeah, like Georgia Southern.
That's true. Like Georgia Southern.
Cream rises to the top.
Yeah, we'll be all right. College football goes through this every 10 years. Teams that show up. I remember when Boise State showed up for that little 3-4 year run they had. Nobody even knew what Boise State was. You know what I'm saying? Then Oregon did it. You know, every 10 years, a team just pops up that you don't expect anything of. And you're like, they're good.
And last year, who? I'm just
Kentucky.
curious of who.
Well, no one's doing it. I mean, Kentucky's was doing it this year.
There's not another team in the state of Florida that possibly is doing that for you?
Okay. UCF. Good
there
God.
You go. He just crowned them champions.
God.
Thank you, Anthony Mack. I'm glad I got that on air.
And Anthony, Kentucky won.
UCF
Kentucky
is
won
absolutely
Saturday
the
night.
best team in Florida right now.
That is a fact. I mean, we've been trying to tell you that for the last, 300 plus days. But welcome to the team, there, Anthony Mack.
Shut up.
But yeah, don't
have a problem. I don't have a problem with UCF. I'm all for them making the college football playoffs. I wasn't for them making the college football playoffs last year, and I'm definitely not for crowning them national championships last year. This year, give them a shot. Last year, hey, you went undefeated. You beat a good Auburn team. Congratulations. This year, give them a shot.
All right, well, we're out of time, guys.
I love that, man.
It's time to head on out, but before we go, let's clarify for Anthony Mack. Anthony Mack, Kentucky's still a one-loss team. They're still in it. They should be a lot higher ranked than they were, but we'll see how they are when they play Georgia.
That's right.
That's right.
Man, it's Monday morning.
Yeah.
Happy
Hopefully I
Monday.
get this microphone thing figured out. I have one other idea, but we'll see.
Stop putting it in your
tech
mouth.
guy.
Just saying.